Welcome to Lead Poison.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Lead Poison podcast, brought to you by youcanpaint.com.au. Please head to youcanpaint.com.au for issue 1 of their how-to series, How to Paint Your House and Save Thousands. My name is Jack, your host, and this evening on the show we are joined by the one and only Icee. Icee has been a graffiti writer since 1984, and ever since then has existed exclusively in the underground of the Australian graffiti culture. To try and fully understand the history of graffiti in Sydney is an impossible feat. I guess the closest you can get is to hear from those who were around in those early years. Icee is without question one of those people. He has a love for graffiti in its purest form and a deep respect for the unusually large amount of writers from this city that have died young. As well as having a wealth of knowledge of where this culture has been, Icee is still contributing and making connections across the globe. If you haven't already, please visit his YouTube channel, The Real Game of Death. I want to thank him for his time, and I hope you enjoy our discussion. Please welcome Icee. Why don't you tell the listeners who you are and what city you're from?
Well, who I am is a graffiti writer from Sydney. I've got multiple tags. I've got 16 different tags that people don't know about. But most people, I suppose these late years, know me as Icee, Icee, purest, partners in crime.
I guess it sort of makes sense to go back sort of to the early years just to start this off. But aside from graffiti, I've been watching your YouTube channel heaps over the past couple of months, and I stumbled across it quite a while ago as well. But obviously, leading up to the interview, leading up to speaking with you, I've been, watching your videos on YouTube as well. And to me, it seems like you've got sort of a deep respect for Sydney, not just the graffiti history, like just the city on a whole. Can you tell me a little bit about, why you love Sydney and what it was like for you growing up in the city and what you like about it so much?
It was the most amazing thing growing up as a kid in Sydney, doing graffiti. There's still things that original pioneers done that we won't speak about. No one will say what happened. On a certain nights, just changed the whole concept of graffiti and where it went, and kept it alive. It's a big topic. It's something that every old school writer that was there was only a bunch of us, but no one will admit to it.
How long have you been writing?
I've been writing since 1984, the age of 12, from Eastwood, RDF, Rock to Future, 1984 I was a member of, and then 1986 I started my own crew, FC, Future Crime, and then I met Ken Stevens, Klein, the original Klein. He liked my FC throw-ups. He was in RCF. And I suppose she was on the lookout and the prowl for riders to be in RCF, and because I tagged Racing and I'd done Mad R's and I was doing FCs really well. Well, that was RCF. So, and I was getting down and busy and doing some hardcore shit and doing a lot of damage and multiple throw-ups and tags constantly, and just endless, just go for endless times, you know, full backpack of paint, 40 cans, 50 cans you could only hold in a bag, and let everyone know and walk tracks and hit the lines in one night and walk it, and end up in the city. I've gone through all city from Hornsby, all city in one night, bombing. You know, pretty amazing efforts.
So do you remember when you know, before sort of those missions and everything, do you remember where you first noticed graffiti and sort of where it first caught your eye?
Eastwood Canals, control artists. I was 12 years of age and I entered Eastwood Library, had dance, rap, breaking competitions, and enter into it, and it's like a new form of dance, and basically, really, the truth is, everyone was doing that first before graffiti. Some people were doing graffiti, but most people were breaking. I was breaking in 1984. Now, there was other writers I know of the exact same year or a year earlier or 2 years earlier, but they're the original first writers in Australia's history. And most of them are dead. In fact, the top three that everyone believes who are the first writers of Sydney, Australia, are not alive.
Who are they?
Well, Kazism Kaz, Woolloomooloo, Game 2000, that's GAME 2000, not Game, and Leo NRC RCF, Rock City Funk.
Yeah, for sure, man. Rest in peace to those dudes, 100%.
Yeah.
So were those the guys that sort of inspired you to get involved? I mean, how did you go from noticing graffiti to sort of jumping into it yourself?
Seeing it more, travelling on trains, you know, jumping on a rattler at a young age, and just able to put my hands high and clip the windows of a rattler and lift my hands up and pull my face out to look at the graffiti when the door was closed because it was a windy, rainy winter's day. Like the doors to just to stay open and you just get blasted, you know. So that way your face would just get wet into the whole body and you'd freeze to death.
Yeah, back in the day when you could hang out at trains and shit like that, eh?
Yeah, great times.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, hopping on one train to the next. No platforms. The train would just be there, and you just walk. You just walk onto the next train. It's right there. and you're at
Fucking
the front
hell.
of the train instead of the back of the train, and still no one's on it. And the driver was so, yeah, and he wouldn't give a fuck. Hoot, hoot. And off we go. You're like, yeah, let's rock and roll. It's honestly, I never had any problems. Basically, maybe a couple of times in the yard, but basically, they like graffiti. They're down with it. But the new ones that have been employed, they spot you on the lines. You know, they call in the fuzz. You know, so yeah.
What kind of, back then, we're talking, the 1980s, aren't we?
Yeah, 1980s, yeah, pure 1980s. And seeing Fab Four, CIA on Bondi Line, that was the cream of the crop. That was the line of devastation and burners that are like the holy grail of Sydney. And for the time and period, probably some of the best shit that the world has ever seen. And they can hold their heads up high and say, "Yeah, I done a burn at this time, and it was better than anyone."
Yeah, man. So, I mean, how many riders were sort of, let's say, mid 1980s? How many sort of riders were out there getting busy? Was it smashed?
About 150 riders in Sydney that I knew of, and that was it. There was riders that I didn't meet, and and that happened for a lot of riders because there was a lot of different lines, and a lot of riders wouldn't travel on a lot of different lines because they would get knifed. There was, PIC wore the blue bandana. They started in '84, but they wore the blue bandana in 1985. And a lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, a bandana, oh, the colours come out. So that's all bullshit. Like, PRC were wearing the blue bandana, and BC, Black Connection, were wearing the blue bandana in 1985.
Damn. Tell me a little bit about Black Connection. Were they a group of riders from the inner city?
From Bankstown Line, Hardcore Line, Mad Line. They had an incredible yard in Punch Bowl Yard. Amazing yard. Like when I first went to Punch Bowl, I walked in the front door of Punch Bowl and walked in to the driver's sheds and the racket keys for the train. So you just get the racket keys and it said 17, and you go to track 17, and the train will be sitting there, and you can just drive the train out of the yard.
Get fucked, really?
Well, if you wanted to, like a lot of people drove a few trains for a short period of time until they got stopped.
That's fucking nuts, man.
But yeah, but just do what you want. Like I'd go in and make a coffee and eat a sandwich.
Make yourself at
Put
home.
on someone's jacket, because I was getting a bit cold, and so I see someone say, "G'day, mate. Yeah, g'day. Yeah, no worries." And that was long before people like these days wearing jackets, doing stuff like we were doing that shit in the 80s before anyone.
So was there you said there's, around about 150 riders or whatever sort of floating around in Sydney getting busy. Was there any influence? Like, where did you guys get your sort of influence? Was there particular movies that you guys were watching, or were you just sort of not paying attention to anything else that was going on in the world? Was there any avenues to find out, what was happening overseas?
Um, Game 2000, his mother was the artist, and she went to America, and she brought back books, graffiti books. So he got to look at those and then got inspired. That's how he got probably to be the first writer. But it's got to be a vote, honestly. But first writers, first pioneers of Sydney, you've got to say, like, which writer they've seen first. And everyone say it, everyone make a vote, and then who comes up to highest is the person. That's the only way to like really prove it the most, because everyone had their own different everyone's got their own different opinion, and they're entitled to it.
Everyone's got their own opinion on who sort of was around at the jump. Are you talking about Australian riders or who they noticed from international riders?
No, just like the international scene that was traveling around the world through books and movies like Star Wars and Beat Street.
For sure, yeah.
My mother took me to watch Beat Street. I watched Beat Street with my mother, and I was breakdancing, and that pushed me further. And my best friend, Paul Brindle from Eastwood, his parents still live in the same house. I seated them and helped them out, and put their food into the cab for them, carry it for them, and instead of letting the driver do it, he actually made a graffiti book in 1984. Like, his father was a publisher of books, and he never published his son's book. And he put a lot of hard work into it, and he's got original photos that no one's ever seen, a book that no one's ever seen, a book that got done for the date that's unheard of. And I'm in a position where maybe I could get that published. Most definitely going down and speaking to them. I've spoken to them about it, and they've been in agreement of it, but the final capture will just be to go to the house on the weekend, go Saturday or Sunday. His parents are beautiful. He's his own employer. He's got his own business, but he stopped doing graffiti. But Eastwood Public School, he got me to meet him after school, and I thought it was going to be a fight. I was getting set up for a fight, and where he told me to meet him, and I met him there, and then we travelled down to the canals, and lo and behold, he pulls out spray paint, and there's a half-done piece, and it says holiday, and he gets me to he shows me how to use spray can and fill in areas of colours of the piece, the first try on the other side of the wall practice, so they don't get any runs, keep it at the right level and the right temperature and hold down pressure. And helped him, and that was basically my first piece, you know. And then he introduced me to RDF, and well, it was pure underground. No one knew who we were as graffiti writers. We never told anyone. It was kept a secret from everyone, all your friends, and I told no one until I went to high school, and I met more writers just by the books that they had, black books, and being in art class gave them away, you know, meeting more writers.
Yeah, for sure, man. What was it, without being too specific or anything, just generally, what was it like at home for you in terms of graffiti? Did you also have to sort of hide it from your parents or, your old girl or anything like that? Or did you grow up in a sort of creative household?
Most definitely did. Like, I lived in a house where I lived at the back of the house and had back windows, and I would open those windows and climb out and get my paint from the paint tool shed of what was stashed, and then climb over a fence and then head down to the tracks, the lines, and meet everyone at a certain time and have the outline of the piece. And I was in a position where I had to do certain colours in certain areas of the piece marked out on the outline, and everyone else had their job. Had a position where they had a job because they were the best at it, and that was their position. So someone done first outline, someone done last outline, someone done a character, someone done the fields. So it was a joint operation. But like we're seeing that right now, like everyone thinks like, oh, one up crew, like look what they do. Like I was doing that shit in '84, you know, but it wasn't documented that much. Only photos were taken. But now where they wear a camera and, you know, then you shit flying in the sky and get the best of everything, can stop the train, and everyone gets involved and everyone's got their own job. You know, it's not one person doing one whole thing. It's multiple people helping, and that's what we're all about. That's what we're doing. You know, I got my letter off the leader of RDF, and I had to get specific colours of paint, and that was my goal. When I got those cans, I'll stay in my school uniform and put them in my bag and
Oh, the shop.
and walk out the shop. You know, and I never got asked to open my bag. Back in those days, like no one got asked to open their bag. Like left in cars, houses were front doors were left open. I'd ring home and my mate would answer the phone and say, "Wait, where are you?" It's like I'm ringing to tell someone at home I'm running late for my mate, and my mate's answering the phone because he's walked in the front door and no one's home. You know, like
Back in the day, that sounds like, man, for sure.
Like no one liked anything.
Mm.
You know, you could walk in and out of a shop. It wouldn't matter how big the bag was. You'd fill up the paint. You could get as much as you want. It was just a free for all. We were so lucky.
Yeah, fucking oath, man. What kind of paint were you using back then? What was around?
Berger paints, British paints, exports, Dulux. There was certain brands, Long Tom Paints. They're gone. That company went bust. Most of the companies went bust. They got hammered by everyone still in the paint. No one bought paint.
Sent them out of business.
Yeah, we sent them all out of business. Like, graffiti writers sent them all out of business, and the last one, what was probably the most famous one, was Tucson and Buntlake. But Buntlake survived because it was overseas, and they just stopped bringing it into the country. We got wind of it. Artists were getting involved and getting it shipped in, and specific art shops would have it on sale, and they'd watch over it, but they didn't watch over it. We still got it. Like, I knew 6, 7 Buntlake shops, you know, and to find a Buntlake shop was like finding gold. You know, you couldn't bring up and Google it and find it and go, oh, it's here and here and here, and you're a mad cunt. Like, you had to do legwork and travel and go to individual art shops that you seen displayed in the newspaper, and use a Gregory's book and travel and go to that suburb and then go to the shop and go there for the first time and then find the paint in the shop. And then
different times, eh?
Yeah,
a lot has changed, man.
Totally different. Nothing like it is now.
I could order a box of paint and have it delivered to my front door. I wouldn't even have to fucking get out of my seat.
Yeah, no, we worked hard. Old riders, original riders in Sydney had to do really hard work, and a lot of us got flogged by our fathers coming home. I jumped in my window. My window met my bed, and who was in my bed? My father, sleeping. And I woke him up because it's pitch black and I can't see anything, and I'm hopping on my mattress and got belt flogged, you know, by a buckle belt.
Fucking A.
And went to school, and the teacher said, like, what's happened? And I said, I went camping and fell and made up stories and stuff, and happened quite a lot, you know, until in the end my father said, like, that's it. That's what you choose. That's what you're going to do. Well, then that's it.
And he gave you a bit of slack?
Yeah, he just gave him free rein.
You know, back in those days, was there a particular type of kid that would get into graffiti? Like, you know, I've spoken to a few guys that were sort of around back then, and I'm just trying to understand what it was like. You know, obviously I wasn't there, so it's fairly impossible for me to do so. But, you know, was it more of a fad, or was it something that like only certain types of people were getting into graffiti and going painting? And Or was it just sort of, you and the guys type of deal, or was it sort of sweeping across schools and there was lots of people getting involved and, only a select few sort of stuck at it?
Everyone would stay in their suburb where they lived, then venture out and going to different places led to a lot of trouble and fights, and also places where breaking was getting done and going down to Martin Place and the Domain and meeting other breakers and talking and clothes that we were wearing. This was big back then. Like I got a photo of me when I was, say, 6 years, 7 years of age, with an Adidas jacket, wearing an Adidas jacket. And nothing to do with graffiti, didn't know nothing about it, didn't know nothing about the brand. My mother just bought it. She knew nothing about graffiti, nothing about the brand. But it's a black and white photo and I treasure it. I got it in my house. And when people come into my house, I show them the photo and say, look at this. He's the 6-year-old kid wearing a long sleeve fucking jacket. I was born in 72, so that's 78, 80.
Yeah, man, that's fucking crazy. Did you notice, what was the popularity moving from the 80s into the 90s and onwards? Was it fairly consistent? Did more and more people just start to get involved, or did you notice that it sort of lost popularity?
It snowballed. As soon as people got their hands and watched Star Wars and Spray Can Art Book, the Bible. As soon as people got their hands on that material like that and seeing what was going on, it was a huge explosion. It just got so massive. It was thousands and thousands and thousands. And you'd go to certain places and other people would get robbed. And
was it fairly dangerous back then to be involved in graffiti? Late 80s, early 90s?
It was dangerous. Yeah, a lot of people got stabbed.
Mm.
A lot of knives and a lot of weapons were used. And a lot of people joined graffiti crews, but there actually were gangs, and they'd go out and bash up the graffiti writers, and take their shit.
Yeah, wild, man. And what about, from the authorities' point of view, did the attention, rise in line with the popularity? Was it also getting more attention from the general public and police and things like that?
The crackdown point was the late 80s. And if you got caught for doing graffiti, you went to jail, even if you were 18 years of age. And then I've met friends that I schooled. They were 18 in 87, 88, and they went to Long Bay Jail and they got raped. And one particular friend got love bites from his head to his toes, love bites. His entire body, and got raped and fucked up the ass. And he survived for 3 days and then he necked himself. His other brother quit graffiti. He was 2 years older, and I went to the funeral, and it's probably one of the first funerals, or one of the first of graffiti writers dying for a cause for the underground.
Yeah, that's shit to hear, bro. I guess, around that time, sort of surveillance picks up a little bit and things like cameras start coming into play as well, which would make it more difficult to sort of stay out of situations that are going to get you locked up and shit.
Yeah, but the position of the cameras and the way that they were made, they weren't for long range, they were only for short. And you just hop in a certain position in the yard and you could get into the yard. And once you got into the yard and hop under a few trains, you're in the center of the yard, and the yard was panel, and the cameras couldn't see you, and you could paint and do your shit, and then paint the front of the train or the back of the train so you knew which one it was, and get the run number and get a tagger and write it on the top of your hand, the run number of the train. And some of them didn't actually have it on. It was a plate that got put on by the driver who numbered the train, run number plate. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
So you'd get like the ID of the train so you could get a flick of it on another occasion or see where it was going.
Yeah, no, you'd wait at the station, and you knew straight away what train it was, and you jump on the rattler, jump off the rattler, and take the photos, and then jump on the train before the train left. But you'd have a friend holding the train, talking to the guard, saying that he's lost, wants to go to Campbelltown.
Just to hold the train up a bit.
And get those extra flicks and perfect flicks and photos. And that was cool. That was great fun. And the guards didn't know shit for a long time. Even all the way up to the 80s, through the 90s to the 2000s, everyone started learning and doing it. And the guard had to respond to it. He's the dude not dressed as a graffiti writer, carrying a bag like a suitcase and a shirt and pants, and he's saying that he's lost and doesn't know where he's going. And he's saying, like, you got to go to the station assistant guard on the platform. It's like, where's that? I don't know where that is. Can you show me? And then the guard will push two bells on the train to let the driver know, like, there's something going on, and he'll notify him again with another two bells that he can leave the train, and then a single bell. So nah.
What kind of cameras were you taking flicks with back then, man? It must have been like film, yeah, obviously, but like disposable cameras.
And you'd have to put it in focus and photographer photos, but the thing was that to get it developed, like take it to the shop, was a lot of people. The police got called and they got busted, but my shop that I took my stuff to, the dude didn't care. He didn't say anything, and he'd hand over the photos and he'd have a smile on his face. You're like, like you guys getting down.
Man, it's crazy the hurdles that you have to, that you did have to jump through just to get shit done back then. It's cool to hear like the amount of work that you put in just to get, it's a lot more than these days. I mean, generally speaking.
Oh, it's easy these days. You just get a bag of paint, you go somewhere, you paint, and you take a photo, and it's done.
Yeah, on your phone, print it at home, whatever, put it on Instagram.
Put it on Instagram, put it on wherever you want, put it on YouTube.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's a sort of, it feels like so long ago, but it's only like, what are we talking, 20, 30 years, and so much has changed. I'm interested to know, these days I see a lot of like sort of roller paint pieces and tags, and that's a big thing at the moment. And I really enjoy seeing, massive shit done with roller paint. Was anyone doing anything like that back in the 80s?
No one. Roller paint. I use roller paint. I've got photos of my burners where you can see I've rolled the wall. I've walked up to the wall, the concrete wall. I've rolled the wall and done a piece, and I've been the first person to paint that wall. So I owned that wall. That wall was mine. No one could paint it and go over it.
And where'd you get your roller paint from? Was that same sort of deal? You get it from,
Well, my
what?
worked for Birch Paints.
Oh, right, true.
John Anderson, board of directors, A&P Centre, chief engineer, and when there was a fire at the plant, he was the only person who knew how to put it out, and he would get called. The phone would ring at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and he'd have to go to the plant and turn off certain pumps and systems to extinguish the fire.
So maybe that's why he came around in the end with your painting. It sounds like he probably had a respect for paint in general.
Yeah, he knew I loved it so much, and he'd see the photos and see photos from my friends, and he said like, "Oh, take photos of them," and I trusted my father, and I did do that, and then he knew who was a graffiti writer that come to my house and who wasn't, because we didn't tell each other. We didn't go around and say, "Well, I'm a graffiti artist," It was a secret. It was underground. Now, it's still writers these days are not named. They hide their faces, they hide their identity. No one knows who they are. Many writers, but they sell their artwork and they do mural art and they make millions of dollars. Like, they're just a cop out. Like, their shit that they do, their paintings that they do, they've got no talent. They actually cheat and do it. They do it by computer and distort an outline to make an outline. That's one way, using a program.
Mm.
And I've been told about that. And there's another one where they use a projector and they put the outline projector and it goes onto the wall and they increase the size to whatever size they want. Even on a cloudy day, using a long cable extension cord, doing it on a wall. many plugs in the city what are free, where you can charge your phone. Back in the day, and still to this day, right now, you can ask a homeless person, where can I charge my phone? And they'll tell you which park to go into, and there'll be electricity there, a box, and you can charge your phone, you know.
True.
Yeah, true.
And people using that, projectors out in those electrical points. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Fuck.
And doing shit and cheating, basically cheating. Outline or remember the outline or freestyling. But freestyling, you don't learn and you don't improve. You don't get better by freestyling. And everyone these days is like, oh, you got to freestyle. Like, that's just fairy tales. All they do when they throw up an outline, they throw up the letter of the outline and then they make it thicker with another colour. Like, it's a joke. They're toys. They're the dumbest cunts. They don't do proper fills. Everything is in proportion. Colours are three colours the same for the shadow, for this, for that. Three colours the same for the fills. And then they do their tag and they get hundreds of thousands of hits. And it's garbage. It's all garbage. There's so many toys out there and they've got millions of hits. It's not funny. I can't work them out. Like, I've got a YouTube channel. It's called The Real Game of Death. And most people say that I can't find it. I see Bruce Lee. I'm right next to Bruce Lee when you find my YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's there, bro. You can find it. Although I was looking for you on Instagram randomly the other day, and you weren't coming up unless I typed in the full, all the way to the last letter, which was interesting. Usually you can just type in the first couple of words in someone's title and it will come up, but yours was not appearing at all until I got all the way to the end of death, which I have heard happens to some people's accounts, for whatever reason. But, is there a lot from back in the day that isn't around anymore that you'd like to see? Is there sort of the culture itself in terms of crews and how people treat graffiti and treat each other? Has it changed a lot since when you were coming up in the 80s and 90s and beyond?
Yeah, it's too much for the sad side, not for the good. Because I was raised in the underground and been around all underground riders and real riders, dedicated riders. They would say a time, they'd give you a date, and you'd be there. You'd turn up. You'd be on time. Now it's a mobile and the phone's switched off. It's disconnected. The phone's a dead number. It's just toy acts. People are ringing you up, because you leave your phone open, but you can close your phone so you don't have any idiots. So the only numbers on your phone, it's the ones that you're going to get. You don't get any others.
Yeah, I imagine it's changed a fair bit, man. I mean, is there people doing shit these days that you actually do look at and think, yeah, they're doing it right, sort of thing, aside from, the guys that you sort of grew up around and sort of the old school heads? Do you notice many people getting involved fresh on the scene these days that you sort of look at and have some form of respect for?
For going out there and doing the graffiti, a lot of graffiti, yes, but the graffiti style that they do, no. No. It hasn't improved. It's gone backwards.
Why do you think that is?
Influences from other countries looking at their stuff and toys and got hundreds of thousands of hits. And I would just burn that dude, man. I'd just take him out. Like, if I had my own film crew and someone done something, you know, I'd do something beside them, and then I'd say, like, you quit. If you get burnt, you can't do graffiti ever again, and get rid of these scumbags because they're losers.
Yeah, bro. There's a lot of people getting involved. I mean, I was looking at flicks just before I got on the phone with you, and I was fucking blown away with the shit that was getting done. I was looking at a folder called, you know, whatever, old school flicks, Sydney Graph, just some folder on Flickr. And yeah, it's just fucking incredible what people were producing 20, 30 years ago. Like the amount of effort and colors and structure and letters, and you know, it's crazy to see sort of the evolution of where it's got to now. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people are doing some cool shit in my opinion now. Like you still see burners, but yeah, man, the stuff from back then, it's incredible.
They wouldn't survive. The writers these days that I meet, most of them back in the day, they wouldn't have made it through the 80s. They wouldn't have survived. There's thousands and there's tens of thousands of writers that quit in the 80s. That went to jail. That ended up being bikies and ended up being this, that, and everything else.
You know, I guess now's probably a good time to ask you about a few different things, but you know, just from what you're saying and from what I've sort of the grasp that I get of you is like your approach to graffiti is what I would call like pure, like a purest approach. And you talk about the underground and staying real to sort of the underground and graffiti. Do you think, it sounds like you don't, but does graffiti have a place at all in any commercial sense in your mind?
No,
None.
none. And I choose to do a YouTube channel and show my face and talk about the underground and break the rules, the sacred rules that I was first raised on, just to notify people that there's writers out there that will stay nameless, will never show their faces, and do hardcore amazing shit, like unbelievable stuff.
Did you put much consideration before you started your channel and sort of documenting?
Well, I made the channel, and I think I can't remember the date. I've got to look at it, but from the date that I made the channel to the date that I actually uploaded something, it's only 4 years ago, but the channel's 12 years old, or like.
True. So you had it up a little bit before you decided to start
So
making videos.
years and years and years passed, and I thought about it, kept thinking about saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to show my face. I'm not going to break the rules of the underground. I'm going to stay nameless. I don't need the fame. I don't want fame. I don't want it. Fame is for junkies, for losers, for nobodies, people that take drugs. I love graffiti. I'm a graffiti lover. My poison is probably alcohol,
Hmm.
you know?
For sure, yeah.
Like, I was drinking at a very early age. I had my first beer bonfire night with my father. Gave me my first beer. You know, I used to reach out. I got photos as a baby trying to reach out, grab a schooner glass off my mother. My mother was drinking and I was breastfeeding her. I was getting breastfed. These days, if you do that, you lose the child.
Yeah, you'd have docs at your fucking door, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, like it's all different, man. It's a whole different world. What happened, and it's moved and it's progressed so much in the future that a lot of old writers are sick and tired of it. You know, we're not happy, bro. We're not happy.
That's interesting because, like, where do you see graffiti, moving in? Is there people around that you're hoping that will continue sort of the legacy of what graffiti is in Sydney, especially?
Every writer I've scored has quit.
Mm.
I've made them kings. I made them do wild style under 1 year. 1 year. 1 year. And they could do wild style. And I'd take them out and I'd take out 10 riders with them. And I'd burn all of them, but they'd come in second place and then get blown away and say, wow, look what he's achieved. Look what he's doing. And he's finishing off. And he's been burned and crushed by riders who are biggest names in Sydney. Yeah, I've battled a lot, but I've kept my battles quiet. I don't say who I battled out of respect to them because I've taken their crown. But man, I am a dual crown king. I can say names of riders and show the photos and destroy and crush their names.
For sure, bro. I'd like to see those. When you say battle, what do you mean? Like graffiti battles, sort of out and about, going head to head, or?
Well, 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. Started on a Friday, so then you got the whole weekend and you paint the train yards and you stay in the yard for the whole weekend. And you do so much damage that when the trains run, the dude shakes your hand and says, yeah, you won. When the first few trains fall out, you know? So, yeah, there's different styles.
Well, let's talk about, I want to ask you about a couple of walls that I've seen on your channel. And it sort of relates to this type of topic, but, there was a wall, there's been a few walls that I've seen, you going over, and from hearing you speak about graffiti, I quickly realized that you put a lot of thought, and a lot of consideration into doing, chuck and throw ups over murals and shit like that. And it wasn't just sort of mindless damage, if that makes any sense. But the RIP wall by Peak and Sways, I want to get your perspective on that and your opinion on what you did and why you did it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Man, I've lost so many friends. There's a video that I wrote, and I got stats from PK Crew to Rapid. It's called Respecting the Dead, Ghost Train by Stats, Icee, RCF, PIC 210 Crew. And there also is a video done saying disrespecting the dead, where I cap out and I show the video on YouTube and going over the wall, because they've done 3 trains with no graffiti. No way. The front runner of one of the trains in the middle says RIP. The train that took my mate's head off. No way. I will not stand for that. When I heard about it, I packed my bag in disbelief, took my video camera, and I filmed it, and I done it straight away and crushed the wall and wrote war.
And that was so tell me tell me your thought process behind that, because what you're saying is that was the wall was meant to be a dedication to
all the dead writers. And they went over a wall that had a dead writer would die doing graffiti and had 6-7 burners on it. So they went over RIP wall and they didn't even burn it. So they're in the wrong.
What's your opinion on legal walls? I mean, I've seen you sort of do similar things to certain legal walls and things like that. You know, I'm the reason I'm asking is because I'm really interested in your perspective on that type of thing, because I think that I haven't met many writers that sort of hold those same views that you do, and I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I've got a legal wall. Yeah, I do legals, but I do legals to the dead, because I don't want to do something and for it to get buffed. And when the buff come through and took out all the history of Sydney, that was the darkest days Sydney seen, when all the were buffed.
In the 2000s, was that?
In the 90s. In the 90s.
They come through and got rid of everything.
Yeah.
Was that because they thought they were going to get the Olympics in the city?
No, nothing to do with Olympics at that time. That was 96, 97. This was before that.
True. So they were just sort of cleaning up the place.
I don't know. Someone had an idea, like, let's clean it. Like, no other state got cleaned, and we had the best shit running in the world. And our shit gets buffed. Like, fuck. Whoever that cocksucker is that made that decision should be shot.
Yeah, for sure, man. Guaranteed it's some fucker in Canberra or, some fucking poly for sure.
Mm.
Is there much shit around? Like, is there any pieces or anything like that floating around that, obviously you wouldn't say where they were or anything, but do you see much shit from back in the day? Because I was looking at some pictures of some tags from the 80s, and I've certainly seen them before, but I didn't realize they were from back then. I sort of thought they were more recent. And it was really cool to see, someone had labeled all these different tags. There was a few of yours in there, and, a whole bunch of other dudes that are all around town. And it was actually surprising to know that they'd been there since, 1985, 1986. Is there much, other than tags, is there much shit around Sydney that's still cranking from back in the day?
There's some hidden spots of graffiti. There's a couple places. But I can't talk about it because someone's going to listen in and know about it. And
no, of course. Yeah, definitely don't.
Tags and do graffiti, and it's going to get destroyed. So I can't say. I'm not going to say.
No, definitely, man. I don't expect you to tell me where anything is, but yeah, it was surprising to see that some shit that you just walk past, on the way to work or whatever, and fucking there's some Guernseys that I recognize that had been there since 1984, and I was like, fuck, I didn't realize that was from that long ago. That's fucking cool. I'm going to stop and have a look at that next time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice of you.
Obviously, you've known heaps of writers in the city, and you've known a lot of writers have passed away, and I've heard you say that Sydney has a sort of, for some reason, has a lot of people within the graffiti culture that have passed away, more so than other cities in Australia and even across the world.
More than anywhere in the world. You can Google it. All their names are there, the dates. Every writer was listening to this should Google it and read all the writers' names and say a prayer to them and honour them.
It seems like it's strange how many there's been. And it's not even from just sort of back in the day. It's pretty consistent throughout the years, man. It's pretty sad to see.
Yeah, well, now we've got trains that are silent, and you get a photo during the day. Like I've nearly been killed. I've been hit twice. I've fallen out of a train. I've shattered my right leg. Crawled to the main road. Waved down a car. It was two American tourists. Well, that was funny. I got a kick out of that, but when I was in a shitload of pain, I should have died. And they took me to the right hospital. And I said I climbed up a tree to get a ball, and I fell. But I actually fell out of a train from West Ryde to Meadowbank, and I should have died. I pin dropped, shattered my right leg. I was in a big brace, plaster for 7 months, and had to do school at home, work at home.
Was that? I've heard you sort of allude to something that happened to you in Waverton. Was that particular night?
No.
Did you? I might be mistaken. Did you? Was there an incident where you fell off a bridge and injured yourself?
Yeah, I jumped off Waverton Bridge to get away, and I somersaulted in midair and landed in hospital for 13 months. And they said I'd never walk again. And
Would you land in the water?
it was actually a road. Waverton Bridge actually goes underneath the road, and I thought it wasn't that high. Hood got caught straight away. He got grabbed. I was waiting for him to finish his panel. He took a photo of mine, and I was waiting for Hood. And he's taking so long. He's like, hurry up, man. The lady's seen us in the house. She's rang the fucking fart. She's rang the transits. And they're having operations. So teaching Brisbane transits how to be transits in Sydney. So about 80 transits rocked down. So I'm trying to run away from 80 transits, and then I get caught on the bridge, and I got nowhere to go except jump the bridge. And I end up somersaulting, and I move my hands. I'm moving my hands to try to stay straight, and I somersaulted in midair, and I land on my back. I entered the ambulance. The ambulance done 10 k's, kilometres, 10 k's to the hospital because of my back. They put me in a back brace machine, broken back, and in hospital for 13 months. Went to court. The judge told me to leave the courtroom, walk back in. He told me to stand up, and he said, because of your injuries and what you suffered and what you went through, I'm dismissing this case, and this case is dismissed. And he went, bang, nothing will be recorded, and knocked the hammer on the wood.
Fucking hell, man. That's fucking nuts. What was the recovery like from the injury?
Therapy, learning how to walk again.
When was that? I mean, what sort of time period?
80, 89, yeah.
Fucking hell, man. Speaking of transits, I've heard stories of the graffiti task force in Sydney, and I've heard some wild stories of what they used to be like. Was there a period of time where sort of writers noticed them get a lot of attention from the graffiti task force? And because I have heard, and I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I have heard they came down pretty heavy at some point on graffiti in the city. And, I think if I'm correct, they were associated with the drug squad and things like that. So they're pretty heavy handed. Is that right?
Yeah. And I done payback on them. They bashed me when I was a kid, and when I grew up to be a man, my father taught me how to fight, and I boxed for 12 years. I knocked these motherfuckers out. When I was with Fear, RBS Rebels crew, and the two trains would jump on the train, and we were bombing the train, I'd knock them both out. Fear couldn't fight. He could punch on and look after himself, yeah, but he wasn't a knockout artist.
Mm.
And I'd fuck these cunts up. I'd go to the headquarters and tell them and say, listen, I'm going to kill you motherfuckers if you come near me, if you stop me from doing graffiti. You know, and I put guns on them. I put a gun on them at McDonald Town, 8 transits, fired bullets into the roof of the train, said, jump off the fucking train, you're dead. Don't come near me. Leave me alone. They left me alone. But I fucked a lot of them up and burnt their fucking units and burnt their houses to the ground and their cars to the ground. I done some hardcore shit, man. I pistol whipped many fucking cunts. I've thrown cunts out of trains at full pace going through the train station out of a rattler because they're talking shit. And I won't have it.
I know, you know, obviously you're part of 210, PIC, RCF, and HR. Is that all correct?
HR, Solwyn's gave me. He made HR. He made what Solwyn's made one of the biggest crews, one of the most respected crews in Sydney. I give respect for what he done and he's achieved. It's massive scale. I've met a lot of HR now that work in the city and work on computers and stuff and the simple life, but they don't write comments on YouTube or make a YouTube channel or upload their photos or lost their photos or a few photos, you know, and then they stay quiet. You know, I've got friends on my Facebook and they don't say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
Like I can't name a certain writer, but I can say that he got cancer and he can't have any stress, man. Can't be stressed out because the cancer might come back, you know. And he's a PIC brother, and everyone knows who he is. But he was one of Sydney's greatest rappers, and he should have got a record deal long before anyone else, long before Hilltop Hoods and all that shit. His raps are better than any record they've done. All their shit is all garbage, and they're a sellout at in Sydney, you know.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, a lot of the shit that reaches sort of commercial success is more times than not a lot fucking whacker than the real shit that's happening behind the scenes. People putting in proper work.
Look at Big Daddy Kane. You know what I mean? He battled KS1 like recently in everyone said KS1, and you know he done better songs in KS1. His songs, the shit, they're for all those new school dudes, all those whacked out dudes that have come onto the scene, And because there's not enough old writers around because they've died, and I've lost so many friends that they can't have a say into it, and they can't support it and buy it.
Yeah, it's fucking it's frustrating how many people have passed away that could have contributed so much to hip hop and graffiti, man.
Man, the writers I knew would have passed away, the styles that they could do, the way they could paint. Oh, man, the shit that they could do. Oh, and reliable and not a rat and take the shit and go to jail but you know, for me, all the writers that I've painted with, no one's gone to jail. No one's gone to jail. Only one person's been caught, and he went the wrong way. And I yelled and screamed at to him to come back, and he just ran off and done his own thing, and he ran into 30 police.
Fuck.
How you going to get away from 30 police?
Yeah, you're probably not, are you?
No, he didn't, and he fucked my record. One person's been busted. That's it.
That's a pretty good record, bro. Even one.
Yeah, nah, but it shouldn't be like that. He should have listened to me, and he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess these days it's so much fucking easier to get done doing shit with the internet and fuck camera phones and the different sort of game, man. You kind of, I guess that sort of old school mentality that you got would help because, you know, staying true to those sort of rules would keep you out of trouble type of thing.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
I heard you talking about PIC and RCF having a bit of a battle in Newtown, I believe, back in the day.
Yeah, well, Rick Seven told me to confront PIC, my mates, my brothers, to start a fight because all RCF were there, and he wanted a punch on, and he wanted me to start it because I was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, and the smallest, and everyone would back me up once I started it. So I done it, and then it was a massive fight. It was a bloodshed that I haven't seen by a mile. Like it was heavy duty shit. It was non-stop. It went for a long time, and a lot of people got hurt. And yeah, it's part of Sydney's history.
Yeah, fucking oath, man. I think that's why I find your channels so interesting and valuable, man, is because you're willing to sort of tell these stories and talk about things that, as you said, it kind of goes against the rules, but I think it's important for that documentation to get out there, man. I really respect the fact that you're willing to talk about those. You know, I'm sure that there's a lot that you don't want to talk about, but even just small things that you do talk about, I find a lot of value in.
So much that there's so much I could say, but I can't. I just can't do it. I won't do it. It's part of the underground, and I've already broken the rules. I've shown my face, and you know, but I just wanted to let other riders know the pathway.
Yeah, I think it's important, man, for sure.
You know, so they get a grasp of it, and they know the position to go to. Who to go to.
Are you confident in where graffiti might be, you know, sort of after your time, the knowledge that gets passed down? Are you confident that these things will survive, these sort of rules and regulations and sort of the foundations of the art form and the culture? Are you confident those things will go on into the future?
There's a few writers in Sydney that have kept that promise. That it's the last of the Mohicans, I'm afraid. 38 years illegal graffiti, haven't made 1 cent. Well, there's not a cent doesn't count anymore. It's 5 cents. I haven't made 5 cents from graffiti. Look how much money I've you can't rack paint anymore. How much money I've spent doing burners for it to get buffed and cleaned.
Yeah, fucking oath.
All for what? All for the love.
It's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, massive. Artists and have 4 or 5 houses and be traveling the world, and it'll be a total different situation. And there's writers out there that live in the underground but also do legal graffiti, and they're the ones that I'm after. They're the ones that I want to take out.
Why is it important to you to keep that sort of? Why do you respect the underground so much? Is that something that got taught to you, or is it something that you noticed in the art form that yourself that you respect?
It works. It works. You don't get caught. You don't go to jail. You don't take drugs. You don't turn out and do heinous crimes. Some crimes have been committed, like by writers, like I can't even say. Like, oh, I'm not going to say. I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to poison people's minds.
On the other side of the coin, can you tell me what are some positive effects that graffiti has had on your life? Aside from the kind of things that we've been talking about, but can you tell me some of the good things that you've gotten out of the art form?
When I paint, when I'm painting and I'm in my element, it's the best thing in the world. I just love it so much. I get so much pleasure out of it. It's like winning the lotto, and these other scumbags just sell out that want lotto and get lotto and make money, but they don't understand that they can get it from the underground and don't need all these material things. But there's just rubbish in the end. They don't help you and survive you. You're not going to survive when you meet me.
Tell me about the Block Boys, brother. I know that I'm really interested. How did you connect with those guys overseas? I've seen you do videos with King Uprock and Mag One, K Solo, on multiple occasions. It's really cool to see. From finding those videos, I've sort of dug into their history and watched videos of King Uprock and sort of starting to understand, his breakdancing and the history over there, which has really opened a lot of doors for me, just like researching and shit like that. How did you get connected with those guys?
Through the underground. The underground's on Facebook. It lives and breathes there. My nickname was Yard Boy. I was a kid, and I'd take a bag of paint. I'd walk into a layout yard, and I'd do throw-ups on at one end of the red rattler to the end of the other. 8 cars, both sides.
All the way.
All the way.
You're a fucking nutcase.
City, and I'll be at Newtown, and then it'll come, and 50 riders will be there and be like,
fucking hell.
the train would pass, and everyone would get blown away, and oh man.
Yeah, man, that must have been an experience, bro. Can you explain to some of the people listening that would have never been up close and personal with a train. And, you know, there's probably a lot of people listening that have painted trains, but there's probably a lot too that haven't. Can you explain what it's like and sort of, you know, what's so thrilling about getting up next to a train and painting it?
The wheels are steel. There's nothing like it. It's where it belongs. It's a pure form. It's where it really belongs, and you feed off it, and you paint a train or you climb a train. Like I climbed a train in Central Underground when Ken Stevens owned that yard, the original client, and he would go down and paint the yard. I took all players, crew, the whole crew down to the yard. I took Fear. Fear done a crown panel. He done the second last car. I done the last car. That's my yard. So, you know, Central Underground, I took Play's crew down there. I took Fear. And because it was after the trains were running, you couldn't go down to the yard because they had cameras. So you had to go from Redfern and walk underneath the platform, carrying paint, and be on your haunches for the whole platform to get to the other end of the tunnel of Central Underground. So for me, it was a heavy mission because I had whole car paint. No one knew I had whole car paint. I got multiple bags. I got so many different bags that I used to paint and do pieces with, and I believe in at least 10 to 15 colours, or you can't call it a piece.
Word, for sure.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of that, with a lot of older graffiti, is a lot more colours.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking, obviously people are still using a lot of colours now, but definitely a lot of old school pieces that I've looked at flicks of, you know, they're fucking just bombarded with every colour. It's incredible. Especially to do that on the train, man. That's half an effort for sure.
There's some amazing talent in Sydney, man, that doesn't paint, that has done a lot of graffiti. I can name writers, you know, that are so incredible, so amazing, and never get mentioned. I'll say one. I'll just say one. You probably won't want me to say it, but Tudor, All-Star Cast. He's got a tag underneath his house from 1981, 82. He's thinking about breaking the bricks to bring the tag out and re-brick it. So he's got a piece of Sydney's history, basically. He has.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool, man.
In his own house. But he can do any character, any form of anything. His portfolio is amazing, it's phenomenal. He is most definitely the best at doing characters in Australia, with a shadow of a doubt, including the world. We're talking about someone that could be doing tattoos 15 years ago, 10 years ago. His drawings are amazing, but he's got a problem where he suffers from pain. and it's inoperable. He's gone to a chief surgeon, and if he operates, he'll bleed out and die. So he suffers from a lot of pain, and he's a break dancer like me, and he goes out to jams and stuff and sees everyone and break dances, but they don't understand that after that he's a cripple and he's lucky to make it home, and then he'll be in bed for days, and it's sad. It's really sad. He's a really good friend. I love him a lot, and he's
Yeah, that's shit to hear, man. Respect to him.
Sydney's finest.
Yeah, fucking A, bro. Have you got any, I want to ask you, for younger writers now sort of getting involved, have you got any advice for them maybe on how to sort of stay true to the foundations that we've been speaking about over the past hour or whatever? Have you got anything to say to sort of younger dudes getting into the scene that might help them along the way, or things that they should maybe adhere to?
Just don't give in. Don't give in and be smart. And remember everything that you see, times, dates. Don't make a catalogue or write it down. Have it in your mind. I know every single bus runs from where I live. I don't have to go to a timetable or look on a phone. I can just tell someone the time when the bus comes. Build knowledge in your mind, and you get powerful. And lock down your letter form and your style on paper first, and be creative, and keep to that form of a straight line down the bottom and a straight line up the top, so the letters are all the same length, and draw the lines in pencil on clear paper, and have black books, do black books, and pass them around to other underground writers, and so you get a perspective of other underground art, and make the black book scene bigger than what it is. It's not really heard of much in Sydney. That's definitely got to come back. That's got to make a big comeback, and riders that can't tag trains can still go to canals and practice and do thousands of tags over tags and get better and improve in certain, like they do it on a train, but you can't do it on a train anymore unless you've got, say, someone to block the cameras with a sticker. Well, do you someone to block the cameras with a sticker? You'd get the schoolgirls. You'd all pay them all $20, give them a bag of stickers, and say block all the stickers of the train. The trains are the same ones that run at the exact same time when the girls get picked up at the same train. They've blocked the train cameras with the stickers, with black stickers, and then you bomb the shit out of those new trains.
That's a fucking pretty good idea. I like that.
It's a great idea. I was the one that fought to do red lights, to actually go up to a terminal of a traffic light, train light, and go to the box and where the arm goes up and down, pushes up and down to pass rocks in it when it's up, in the up position, and stuff rocks so it can't go down, so it can't change track and change colour and go green. And the train stays terminal for half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour. And the person in charge of all the trains says, you're not going anywhere. There's something's happening on the line. It's got to get checked. And it's in the wrong position where we're painting because we're behind the train and that doesn't get checked because it's in front is the problem. And you do a panel and you take a photo. Now, I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that I used to do with the Red Rattler. It's an all-city train. It goes all the way through Newtown and then it goes all the way through Bankstown. Now, I've started at McDonaldtown Station, jump down. It was called a jump down panel. I would jump down, start doing the outline of the panel or throw off, and then the train would start running and I'd jump on the train and people would lift me on the train because I've come late because I'm painting the train as much as I can and the train's going quickly to get back on the train. And then I'd jump down at Newtown and then I'd have to wait until Petersham. And then from Petersham, I could do Croydon because it's on the bend and the guard can't see you. And then it'd be Strathfield. And then every other station after that, Homebush, all the stations going to Bankstown are all on the right-hand side. So the left-hand side's free. And I do a panel on a running train during the day.
That's fucking wild, man.
You know, I've got stories that you wouldn't believe.
That's fucking crazy. That's a good way to do it, man. Very ingenious.
Yeah. But doing the red lights and stopping the trains, I told Dus, DOOSC, DMS, HR. The reason I stopped writing HR, I told Solons, I put 3 people in HR and they all died. And it broke my heart. And I felt like I had blood on my hands. And I told him I'm not riding the crew anymore because of that reason. And 3 very good friends. And I even buried Dus on St Andrew's Day, the 30th of November, St Andrew's Day, and on my last name, I didn't give a fuck saying it. Son of Andrew, first called to Jesus Christ in the Bible. And I buried him on my day. I carried his coffin and I was honoured. I wore a blue bandana, PIC bandana, with Old English writing, and it said Dus with 1 teardrop. And I gave it to his fiancée. He had his kids too.
How old was he when he passed away?
Oh, 30 years of age.
Fucking hell, man.
He was an incredible rapper. He was a better rapper than Deceiver. Deceiver would say that. Deceiver asked me, what should I do? And I told him, I said, mate, go home, get on the computer and watch Beat Street. Watch Beat Street and learn from it. I said, like, a lot of people think it might be fake, but honestly, the honest truth is that Ramo died doing graffiti, and his father looked at his graffiti, and in the Bible, God done graffiti, and I learned that when I was young, when I was a kid growing up at school, by my minister, and reading it out to me and marking it in the Bible. And
True, I didn't know that. I've never heard that before.
yeah, that's a true thing. That's old writer's knowledge, brother.
Yeah, fucking nice, man. I'm thankful to hear it for sure.
That's some real shit. That's some of your listeners can look up and read and get strength by it and know that God does graffiti. It's not a crime. It is not a crime. We're not committing crimes. We're not gangsters. We're none of that. That's a joke. All that stuff's a joke. You go to jail for that stuff. You're right in jail.
Even, especially Sydney is sort of home to the godfather of graffiti, speaking of more recent times in, Mr. Eternity, Arthur Stace, which is a really cool story and pretty cool to hear that he was from Sydney and, him writing Eternity around the city long before any of this stuff was around, man. That's a really cool sort of story that I've been looking into lately.
Yeah, like it actually outbeats New York. Like we outbeat New York in so many ways. It's not funny, for pieces all done for years and times and periods that we have correct photos of, that there's a book coming out, a very large book. It's probably 2 foot long, a foot high, and it's got perfect photos of old school graffiti.
In Sydney?
In Sydney. Sydney only. It's going to be the greatest book ever made. It's coming from Omen RCF, the original Omen, the king of Sydney, all city fucking king. Is doing this project on the quiet side, and basically it's nearly fully done, and it's getting published.
I'd be keen to get my hands on that, man. That sounds fucking mad.
This book will be the godfather of all books. I promise you, I give you my word, my honor. I have seen the book already made, but still drawn up other photos still to put in it. And it is man. People are going to tremble. They're going to shake when they turn the pages. And they're going to get blown away. And it's all illegal graffiti. Some legal wars, but wars that king writers only allowed to paint. Real writers. Not fucking nobodies that's done no fucking trains. Like, he's done no trains. Where's his photos? Where has anyone ever seen one photo of his? He's got none. He done one piece on the lines and then become a mural artist. And every single time he was in Newtown, he got bashed and lost his paint by POC or RCF or KOS, Kings of Steel. The originals. Buster, the original Buster. He was the doorman at the Cross since 87, 88, his whole life. He gave me his tag, run. I'm the run. I'll give it up now. I'm run. RUN. RCF.
There's a lot of history there, man.
Yeah, 96. The Graffiti Task Force had an interaction by the government that they had to catch the top 5 graffiti writers. They were getting paid $350,000 a year. They had to catch the top 5 graffiti writers to survive and keep their jobs because the Olympics was coming up. What happened is they caught one of the 5. I was number 1. I done a Sydney piece. It's on YouTube, photo of it. And I'm laying down on the tracks and I'm sticking my finger out a lot in my photos, giving the bird. And in white on the right-hand side, it says Sydney's Most Wanted. And I've done a Sydney piece. Anyway, they calculated the transits. I done $14.4 million damage. Now that's what kind of writer I am. That's how much damage I've done. Before writers were even born or even thought of. I've painted 38 years illegally and we're coming to the end of the year. So, anyway, 96, the government, top 5 writers, they caught one of the 5. They employed a winger from Balmain Leagues Club, a runner, to actually run after graffiti writers to grab them so they could get busted.
You serious? What the fuck?
He was the reserve. Yeah, I'm serious. He was the reserve. And they used him. Now, I was at McDonald Town. I was down at the other end of the platform and I seen him. I heard what he looked like and his description. And I told everyone that is with me who he was and follow me. And we went into the underground of the tunnel at Redfern, the express from Bankstown line that goes underground under the tunnel and then comes back out through Redfern. Now, I ran down that tunnel and stayed on the tracks. I'm telling everyone, stay on the tracks, feel the bricks on your feet. Run large, because all these cunts have got torches and they can go where they please, and we've got nothing. We're in pitch black darkness. Cover your eyes and try to run. That's what we were doing. We got down to the end and about to enter the tunnel, and on the right-hand side is the ladder, and it goes right up to the top and back onto the train lines. And I got everyone to climb up that fucking ladder And then we went through restaurant yards. We jumped over the fence and jumped into the pub, rang for a taxi, jumped in the cab, went to the city. Everything was sweet. Had Hungry Jacks, doing outlines, had the time of my life. And the employer they employed to try and catch me, they couldn't get me. The graffiti task force got disbanded, got broken up, and I won the war on graffiti. What graffiti writer in the world can say that? They actually won the war on graffiti, and the graffiti task force all lost their jobs completely. All of them, the whole lot, because of me. I was number one. I kept it real. And yeah, like after that, when it comes to 2000 Olympics, whole trains were getting done. You know, like a few boys from Burwood, I won't name, but doing platform whole cars in Hornsby Yards. And they were rocking around my place, and one night I gave them like 300 cans, 3 shelves of paint, 300 cans. It went to good use. The whole car, 2 whole cars got done, married couple. I could have went that night, but I was with a girl that was pregnant, and she was about to give labour. And like, see any sports person, wouldn't matter who it is, if someone's about to give labour or giving labour, they don't play football, they don't play tennis, or they don't play any sport. They go to their loved one, you know, because that's breeding the second, third generation of graffiti writers. You know, so that's the important to keep that solid and keep that marriage and that bond pure.
Yeah, you can always go out and do another whole car another night, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like, you know, yeah, love at first sight, and you're with her, and like, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Graffiti comes second, but first comes your wife, your girl.
Family first for sure, man. How long would those run, man? I mean, how long, what's the sort of longest panel that's been running in Sydney in the past?
I done my mate Bundle. I still have. Hopefully through this broadcast, he connects with me. Maybe he doesn't want to connect because he doesn't want to get involved in talking about graffiti. And there's a lot of writers out there, old writers, that we haven't heard of that have died, and they haven't connected with anyone, and they've stayed quiet.
Mm.
And yeah, so, but bundle raising door to door, and it ran for 6 months. 6 months. It slept at every single yard. Everyone tagged the train, and it slept at every yard. It was a train that ran for peak hour night and day and night, and it would sleep at a different yard every time and get away from the buff. And very lucky. But so much graffiti that I've done, and all the riders that I've schooled and all the good things. I'm honoured to have the longest running train in Sydney's history and the longest end-to-end ever done. It's a circus train carriage where they put the big top in. I done an end-to-end on it. It's on my YouTube channel. It says RCF Cop Killers, burn all you motherfuckers, RCF with a question mark. You only have to pause the video when you see the train, and it's the length of 2 train rattlers, 1 train carriage. When we went up to the train, I couldn't duck my head underneath the train. I could walk underneath it.
What, it was that high?
It was that high, that big. I was about 170 metres away when I took the photo. The photo that's shown on YouTube of it.
Yeah, true. Just to get the whole thing in.
Just to get it in.
Jesus Christ.
I kept going back. And I'm with Ken. Ken was with me. KEM. TES. And incredible rider, mad style. Anyway, I kept going back, and I argued with him. I said, listen, man, this is not fucking working, bro. I can't see it in my fucking, when I'm looking at it, I can't see it all. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I only got a few photos left to take. And we done this daytime.
During the day?
In Redfern Yards. The longest train carriage ever built in Australia, and we painted it.
Well, it was one carriage, not over 2.
One carriage, the length of 2 rattlers.
Fucking A. So they just built an extra long train.
Yeah, for the big top. But yeah, when you pause the video and you look at the train, how long it is, and what the words say, and you look at it, you go, fuck, man, that is one huge motherfucker.
I'm going to have a look as soon as I get off the phone to you, for sure. It sounds fucking sick.
Be proud, brother. Be very proud. I keep Sydney strong, and I school riders and put riders in crews, in Block Boys crew. It's worldwide. It's a worldwide crew. I got connections all around the world, places I can stay, houses I can stay at, Colombia, Peru, Miami, New York, you name it. I've got the best connections you can get. Underground. I meet my brothers from other countries. Anyway, we'll leave it for now, brother.
You're a legend, Peace. Brother. I really appreciate your time, man, and I can't thank you enough, eh?
That's cool. It's all good. Much love.
Thank you for listening to the Lead Poison Podcast.
in.